Hi everyone, my name is Agnes Pranindita. I'm a PhD candidate. Oh, okay. There was a nice image in the background of this slide actually, but no worries. You have to use your imagination now. There was forest and there was agriculture on the right side, so kind of imagine. This is a PPT though, right? I have a lot of. Okay, yeah, all right. No worries, no worries. It's fine. So yeah, my 5 minutes is not started yet. No, it's okay. Restart. My name is Agnes Pranindita. I'm a PhD candidate at the Stockholm Resilience Center at Stockholm University. Today I will be talking about my PhD research actually, and more about sharing the results of the research. But basically what I'm looking at is atmospheric water and how atmospheric water actually connects forest and agriculture. As you might know, forest and agriculture are intertwined within and across scales, constituting a socio-ecological system. Forests actually provide various ecological services to agriculture, from, let's say, providing cooling effects at the local scale, supplying precipitation at the regional scale, to carbon sequestration at the global scale. But in reverse, agriculture also affects forests in different ways through different social processes. So for example, at the local scale, direct conversion of land, and at the regional scale through trade, and at the global scale through demand for land in achieving the food security at the global level. And in this study, I'm actually looking particularly on this process of how forests supply precipitation to agriculture through a process that is called moisture recycling. And moisture recycling is a hydrological part of a hydrological cycle that covers the process where moisture evaporates from land surface, travels elsewhere, and falls back as precipitation on land again. And so there are increasing studies about forests providing moisture actually to agriculture through this process, these studies actually show that deforestation is followed by reduced precipitation in the downwind regions. And that is because of these biophysical characteristics of forests. So, for example, like through high evaporation, low albedo, high surface roughness, and also like the ability of forests to like reach deeper water. But although this knowledge is actually growing on the ecological process of moisture recycling, this process is actually rarely complemented with the understanding of how we actually use and manage lands in reality. So in this study, I actually attempt to link this moisture recycling process at the local and regional scale to the kind of social mechanisms shaping the way we actually change forests. And I do that for the purpose of advancing the discourse of atmospheric water governance. And for context, actually, currently, there is no governance mechanism on water that explicitly and significantly addresses atmospheric water. And so one of the paper in my research actually looks at this kind of regional scale of like how moisture and trade kind of overlaps with each other. And this graph actually shows the entanglement of moisture and crop flows in South America. So the left side is like the moisture flows from forest nations to crop producer and exporter. And then the right flow is actually a trade flow between crop exporter and importer. And what I find here is that up to 30% of annual precipitation in South America can actually come from forest that is in upwind countries. And that if we combine like all these flows together, actually forests in Bolivia, Brazil, and Peru actually support 16% of global production and 19% of export of the crops that I account in this study. And zooming in into Brazil, actually, and looking at how Brazil is connected to this, the surrounding countries, we see that circular flows between moisture and crop actually exist. So while Brazil supplies moisture to Paraguay, Uruguay, and Argentina at different levels. Brazil also depends on over 70% of their import from these three countries. Another study that I did was looking at the local scale. I'm looking at the Democratic Republic of Congo here and the practice of shifting cultivation. And we find that in response to change of precipitation, there is actually smallholder farmers are left with very little livelihood options than to actually clear more extensively and more quickly. Although the clearing is at actually in a very small scale, so you see more small patches of cleared forest, and that doesn't necessarily match with this regional scale of moisture recycling process. So in this case, we actually find this mismatch between social and ecological processes, limiting the relevance of a feedback between forests and agriculture at the local scale. Yeah, so I think that's it, I guess. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thanks so much, Agnes. I think it's super fascinating, how do we govern moisture. For the next presentation, I will actually check because my order is different. So Anders Roos will talk about youth action in agriculture and forestry.
So, is the green one the big one or a small one?
This one here.
Yeah. Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Nice to see so many here. My name is Anders Roos, and I will talk about a communication project, African Youth for Forest. And it's a collaboration between SLU, Swedish University of Agricultural Sciences, and the African Forest Forum, which is an African forest research network organization. And the team consists of communication experts, forest ecologists, and social science economists, and so on. And we also have a youth advisory council with us because we are not that young any longer in the research team. So this is the setup. So why is this topic important? Well, we have the normal challenges for Africa. Deforestation is ongoing with the biodiversity loss. And there are also several other sustainability challenges in Africa. And climate change is hurting Africa the most, although Africa is emitting the least of the gases. So it's actually Africans' youth that will tackle all these sustainability challenges. So they will pay the bill, so to speak, and they also have a skin in the game, so they cannot leave like I can when I go there and come with solutions. This group is very, very large. So Africa is a very young continent, 19 years old in average, and 42 here in Europe. And the African youth group is almost 4 times larger than their European counterparts. So this brings us to the topic of our project or objectives. This is to create a dialogue between youth and scientists. So there is African colleagues and me that are communicating with them. They should also create their own vision and their own idea, a niche for sustainable forests in Africa. So there's a two-way communication. And we also wish to strengthen the youth influence of policy processes, both nationally and also internationally. The activities, they consist of workshops. So here we have one workshop in Kenya 2 years ago, where we have different types of activities. We also have web-based seminars in order to reach all over the continent. We also use media quite much. with very good results, I think, TV and newspapers. And we will also network with other organizations with the same idea and goals. So, reflections. Well, after working with this, we are in the middle of this project, and we are now planning upcoming workshops in 1 month in Kenya, and a little bit later we will have a workshop also in French in Cameroon. So we are covering 2 languages, French and English. So I'm quite certain and convinced that youth creativity actually can drive the sustainability transition in forestry and conservation. But they must be given the opportunity. So, if you want to join us or discuss with me, so you're very welcome after this or in the coffee break. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks. Thank you very much for sticking to the time. Exactly. Okay, then we have the third speaker, which is Rosa Goodman, talking about colonial legacies in tropical forests.
All right, thank you very much. My name is Rosie. If you don't know me, I'm a lecturer, researcher at SLU. Anyway, so I'm talking about colonial legacies in tropical forestry, and this comes from discussions with a colleague of mine, a Kenyan forester, and he one day just mentioned that the colonial government in Kenya began conducting trials on indigenous tree species. Earliest possible would be 1897, and by 1902, they already concluded that indigenous species were slow growing and not suitable for production, which should clearly piss anybody off. I mean, you can't make any such conclusions about tree species in 5 years. Then they moved on to plantations for production, so monoculture plantations. So yeah, really bad science, also obviously completely in line with the colonial mindset of just plowing over everybody and everything that's there and thinking that they know better. It's also very poorly documented, whatever research they did. But it is documented, they intentionally broke down traditional management practices and alienated people from their land. So this really got me wound up because, I mean, for one, it's shit, and 2, 120 years later, this is still, it's still the same shit, really. So we dug into it some more, and it turns out that the British Empire learned forestry in India and Myanmar after they'd largely exploited a lot of the resources there. And by all accounts, they were terrible at it. They got scathing reviews even within their own forestry commission. So they had no tradition of forestry. They were trained by German foresters who were like, monoculture plantations, that's the way to go. So they only ever practiced scientific forestry in these plantations, but at least in India and Myanmar, they mapped the natural forests, so, they know where to go to exploit resources. And then when they moved to Africa, they took no such interest, not even that extremely nominal level of interest of at least training higher level officials in France or Germany. So forestry departments were set up purely to be sources of luxury timber and income. So they didn't want to spend any money on tropical forestry or on forest management. And then, so they're basically just administrative units to issue permits and penalties. And the forestry laws and codes never had any attempt at managing forests sustainably. It was all about controlling access to the forest resources and who could benefit from them. So who could transport, or who could harvest timber, who could transport it, and who could market that timber. So the locals, they were seen as competition, so they were therefore relegated to subsistence and non-commercial use of timber and forest resources, but of course it was billed that the locals were, not to be trusted because they're destroying the forest. So, if I haven't made it clear, all these legacies still exist today, and since I've learned this is over a year ago, it's just I can't unsee it. So forests are still largely mined, so we're just taking the timber, we're not managing them, and managed with pretty arbitrary administrative rules. It's still rampant that people turn towards plantations for production. And there's this huge lack of knowledge on how to actually manage tropical forests sustainably. And there also seems to be a total lack of interest in how to do it. And local people still completely denied access to commercially valuable timber. And we still see all these proposals for non-timber forest products and non-commercial subsistence use of forest resources. And the more we go, don't research or develop tropical forestry and forest industries, and in the, North America and Europe, things are skyrocketing, super fancy and advanced. So the more that disparity grows, the more we reinforce the legacy of colonialism that, we just can't manage tropical forests properly. And I will say, this whole process, working with Benedict, has been super interesting, on a personal level, of exploring these dynamics. I'm coming. So anyway, we advocate that we take a genuine interest in tropical forestry, that we use indigenous species, melding all these agendas for restoration and bioeconomy and rural development, and that local people are truly involved in really driving the process and definitely granted the rights and access. And we actually invest in research and development and value chains and the industry. And this is where, if you know me, I've been advocating for this for a while, and the pushback and vitriol I get on this is just disgusting, and it has really fortified my determination to keep going in that direction. So also, please be mindful what ideas and people you support.
Okay, thanks so much. Yeah. Good emotional speech on mining forests. Now we have another mining topic with Elisabeth Simelton. Yeah, I hope so. Oh, we have Chandrakant. Okay, my program is wrong. So then we have Chandrakant. Welcome, welcome. Stand close to this. This is the button.
Hello, everyone. My name is Chandrakant Singh. I'm a postdoctoral researcher at the Chalmers University of Technology. And the topic that I'm presenting briefly is forest to finance, tracing deforestation risk in the global food systems. But you would rarely see me talk about finance. It's just more if you want to contribute to it. We'll see that. I'm sure you are familiar with what is deforestation, being a member of this network. But what's interesting is the number of the extent of deforestation. So we are losing nearly more than 10 million hectares of forest every year. And a research by Winkler et al. In 2021 suggested that nearly 86% of global deforestation is due to agriculture. So it becomes really essential for us to relate this deforestation with agriculture, specifically agricultural commodities. But currently we lack the comprehensiveness needed for this deforestation attribution because we do not have really explicit pixel level data. But most of the deforestation attribution is also done at national level. If you're working with deforestation, you would find that some of the data on deforestation exists regionally, or you would have deforestation data for some commodities, but we do not have comprehensive data for deforestation attributed to specific commodities globally. Realizing this, last year we submitted a paper still in review of a model called the DEFORESTATION Driver and Carbon Emission Model. And the idea that it would, also one point I forgot is the data sets that are currently available to us really lack integration of remote sensing updates and integration of new and emerging data sets in such attributions. So realizing this, we had a paper on a model that provides this up-to-date deforestation attribution related to specific agricultural commodities. In that we cover more than 180 countries and commodities and annual deforestation globally. And the idea was that such integration is critical to understand global food system dynamics and its impact on Earth system. And also such data set is very critical in supporting conservation efforts across the globe. And last year we did a project, or we are still doing this project. We got some financial support from WWF. Hence the title, Forest to Finance. And the idea was that we would relate this deforestation, and we will try to achieve a much granular deforestation assessment at subnational level wherever possible for Amazon. And we published this report last year during our technical brief last year during COP16. Some of the colleagues of SCI are already here, but also with WWF. And in this, we attributed deforestation to agricultural commodity at subnational level. For the Amazon, I will briefly talk about the results. So unlike the national scale attribution where of how deforestation attributed to specific commodities, if you look at subnationally, does it have a laser pointer?
Sorry, no, I don't know if it has a...
Yeah. So you would see that regions in blue are where pasture-related deforestation is more dominant, whereas regions in pink are where crop commodity-related deforestation is more dominant. So these kind of assessments or estimations are not apparent when you do national scale deforestation attribution. But through this data, we could also look at the trends in deforestation. And the next phase of this project is that we are trying to link this subnational deforestation attribution to regional and international trade and financial actors. And hopefully, if we get good results, we'd present it at COP30. So we are still in process of doing this attribution, and if you have some expertise in the field and want to contribute as a reviewer, if you want to give us some feedback, you have some policy insights, just connect with me. Sorry. So if you have some insights or policy insights, or if you want to contribute to this study, we are going to have like a paper on that as well, other than the report. But if you just want to review what our methodology is and provide your feedback, please contact me and Martin there.
Yeah, please get in touch also in the coffee break if you have questions to anyone who already spoke. And now I can say it's really Elisabeth. There's no other option. Very welcome. Yeah, and this one. Yeah.
All right. It's so good to be back in this crowd again. I'm so happy. So today I'm going to talk about something called Participatory Environmental Monitoring. And it's a community-based tool that we use primarily in mining contexts. The work I will be presenting here has been done under Environmental Governance Program, which is supported by SIDA, implemented by Swedish National Environmental Protection Agency, and UNDP. There we go. So I'm happy you've already set the scene for this presentation, really on the need for tools to involve indigenous people, local communities. As we've seen, there's a global hunt now for critical minerals in various parts of the world. Roos already also talked about another aspect of this critical minerals chase, speaking of colonialism. Connected to deforestation, biodiversity loss, and social unrest, of course. And so one of the activities that we've done in this program is trying to be proactive and prevent distrust and social conflicts in these areas, is working on this participatory environmental monitoring. And it's a tool that we use to bring in local and indigenous knowledge as well. And of course, that's not a solution for everything, but it could be a tool also for involving and engaging serious actors who want to work on their corporate social responsibility due diligence work. So we've finished a systematic collection of lessons learned from Latin America, Africa, Asia, and summarized it into a checklist. And it's designed around 4 steps, the ones you see here, and I will talk a little bit more about them, and 4 cross-cutting pillars that covers environment, governance, gender and equality, and learning. So first of all, you need to understand whether PEM could work or not. But if you do that and you think you want to try and test it, you start to collect and gather the communities, government agencies, and mining companies to understand what level of involvement the communities might have. If the communities are not involved, it's not the participatory monitoring that will happen anyway. You want to understand also what the problems are. If waters are polluted, for example, is that because of the mining, or could there also be something else, or something else at all? How do people perceive the problems, and does everyone agree on what the problems are? Second step is on the prioritizing and designing a monitoring scheme to come up with what's going to be monitored: air, water, biodiversity loss, for example. You decide how often you want to go out and monitor, what equipment you will use, what results, how they will be disseminated. And what's something we've really learned is how that's all going to be paid for. In the end, that's important for it to survive. You go home and you do the lab results, you test, and you have a monitoring and communicating of the results. And finally, you act and follow up on the results, whatever they were. Do you need to set up an early warning system, for example, or what kind of actions do you want to take? And these steps are not just like in this order. Of course, there are more sub-levels of steps as well, but you can go back and forwards. And today, I'm so excited also to be able to give you, as an external privileged little audience, to share the interactive version of that tool. So it's launched from now, I guess. So if you go to this website, it's going to be tested for a little while, until March. And we would really want your comments and feedback on what you think, if it's useful, if you see serious errors, because we still have some time to change a little bit. So this tool will come as it comes as an interactive tool. And if you click, meaning you will get information like this, a little bit more detailed. There will be worksheets that you can work around when you work in communities. There's also going to be an accompanying guide that is an 80 pages of collections of the results and the work that's behind all of this. It's going to be translated to Spanish and French. And so with this test version, we're just starting in English. So the rest will come shortly. And as a bonus, I also wanted to promote 2 other courses that we also publish on the Learning for Nature website on gender in mining. Because when we work on the ground, one thing we often come closer to is gender and inequalities. And so to learn more about how gender inequalities are affected in mining contexts, we have developed 2 MOOCs, short courses, that helps us to understand that a little bit better. So we also want to avoid that PEM cements any gender equalities when we go out and work with it. So if you work in any of the countries that we worked in, there's 12 of them on the map. We also have an alumni network for your information. And if you sign up to the newsletter here, you will also get more updates and news. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Elisabeth. And thanks again for all the speed talkers.